Have you ever watched a man break his own silence on live radio and heard, in the breaking of it, everything you've been protecting for 25 years? Howard Stern does not break character. This is not an observation. It is a professional and personal axiom that has organized his career since the first broadcast. The character is the instrument. The instrument is the point. For 40 years, from WNBC to WXRK to SiriusXM, from the morning zoo format to subscription model, the character has held through presidential campaigns, through lawsuits, through FCC fines that totaled nearly $3 million, through the deaths of people he loved on air, through his own marriage ending and beginning again. The character holds. That is the thing Howard Stern does. He holds a character. And then, on a Wednesday morning in March 2026, he doesn't. He plays 11 seconds of audio from November 9th, 1999. He says one sentence. And in that sentence, in the specific register of a man who has just stepped outside the instrument he has been playing for 40 years, the complete picture of everything the 1999 tape contains, and everything the man on the tape becomes visible not as a political argument, but as a human verdict. To understand what it means for Stern to step outside the instrument, you have to understand what the instrument was built to contain, and what it cost to contain it for 25 years. November 9th, 1999. Trump calls the show. He is considering a presidential run, the Reform Party candidacy that will become the first of several iterations of the idea before 2015, when the idea stops being an idea and becomes a fact. Stern plays Hail to the Chief when Trump gets on. They joke about the presidency. Trump is comfortable. This is his register, this room, this exchange. The specific frequency of a man being celebrated by someone whose celebration doubles as provocation, and who has learned to receive the provocation as tribute. They are good together. They have been good together for years. Trump knows that Stern will say the transgressive thing, and that his job is to be delighted by it, which is a role he plays with genuine ease, because the transgressions Stern navigates toward are transgressions Trump does not experience as transgressions. They are simply the things he says when the room is right. The room is right. Let me talk to that broad in your bed, Stern says. Trump obliges. He calls across the room. He tells Melania to come to the phone. He describes her to Stern before she picks up, in the register he uses for real estate, the specific vocabulary of someone describing an asset, the value, the condition, the visible attributes. He says she is a potential first lady. He says she is nearly naked. Then he clarifies. She is naked. He says it the way, he says everything that he considers self-evidently positive, with compressed enthusiasm of a man reporting good news about something he owns. Melania comes to the phone. She is 29 years old. She has been in New York for 4 years. She takes the receiver from the man who has just announced her state of undress to 3 million people, and she does what she does in every room whose terms have been set without her. She inhabits the terms with the composure of someone who has decided that composure is the only variable in a room she controls. Stern asks what she is wearing. Not much, she says. Stern asks if she is nude. Almost. The exchange continues. Stern asks about their sex life. She answers, "We have a great, great time." She claims they are together even more than daily. Stern asks if she goes to Trump's apartment every night. She says yes. Trump is back on the phone periodically, annotating the exchange with the enthusiasm of a man who is watching his assets being appreciated by an audience. When Stern asks again whether she is naked, Trump confirms, "She is actually." Then the sentence that the 1999 tape is built around. The sentence that Stern plays on his March 2026 broadcast. The sentence that comes not from Trump's prepared remarks or his public statements or his political persona, but from the unmanaged private voice of a man who believes he is inside a room where everything he says is welcome. It's a thing of beauty. He says it about a naked woman in his apartment, speaking to a radio host and 3 million listeners. He says in the register he uses for penthouses and golf courses and properties that have appreciated in value. A thing of beauty. The specific aesthetic vocabulary of someone who has organized his entire relationship to the world, to buildings, to women, to power, to the people around him, around the question of whether a thing is worth displaying, whether it reflects well, whether it contributes to the presentation. Then someone in Stern's studio does the impression. A fake accent. Melania's voice crude, exaggerated, performing sexual submission for the studio audience. Please, Donald, don't put there. The studio laughs. Stern laughs. And Trump, in the background, off mic, in the room where his girlfriend is still holding the telephone, laughs the laugh that the 2026 broadcast is built around. The laugh of a man who is not being baited. The laugh of a man who is entertained. The laugh of someone who has heard his girlfriend's voice mocked in a fake accent by a crew member in front of a live audience, and who finds a mockery exactly as funny as the person doing the mocking intended it to be. Melania does not hang up. She finishes the segment. She hands the phone back. She does not say stop. She does not go off mic and register the objection that the moment requires and does not receive. She absorbs what the room has done with her voice and her body and her undress, and she holds it with the specific composure of someone who's been holding things that rooms do with her voice and her body and her undress for longer than this particular room has known her name. 17 years later, October 2016, 3 days after Access Hollywood, the morning after her CNN interview with Anderson Cooper, she sits across from Fox and Friends and says something that the 1999 tape requires to be heard beside it. I was not surprised. Not, I was hurt. Not, I didn't know. Not, that is not the person I married. All of those sentences are available to her. All of them are sentences that the political moment she is navigating would accept and absorb and move past. She chooses none of them. She says, I was not surprised. And then she says, everything was organized. The sentence is officially about the timing of the Access Hollywood release. The political framing she applies to explain why the tape surfaced 3 weeks before the election. But the sentence does not stop at the timing. I was not surprised. A sentence that contains the full weight of what 17 years of Howard Stern and Billy Bush in the lobby at Trump Tower and the crude impression in the studio has deposited into the emotional ledger of a woman who has decided that the only thing worth saying about all of it is that none of it surprised her. She is not surprised. She has taken a complete inventory. She knows what room she is in and what the room does with voices and bodies and states of undress. She has known since November 9th, 1999, when she handed the phone back and walked the other side of the apartment, while 3 million people heard her described as a thing of beauty and her voice mocked in a fake accent, and her boyfriend's laugh confirmed that the mockery was exactly as welcome as any other entertainment in the room. Howard Stern plays the 11 seconds on his March 2026 broadcast. Not the sex life exchange. Not Melania's answers. The laugh. He plays the specific 11 seconds of Trump laughing in the background while the impression runs. He does not introduce it with context. He does not say what year it is from, or what preceded it, or what followed. He plays it. The laugh fills the Sirius XM studio. It sounds the way it has always sounded. Unguarded, warm, the laugh of a man who is having the time of his life in a room where everything is permitted and nothing costs anything. Then Stern says one sentence, in a register that a production team, his co-hosts, and the listeners who have been tuning in for 40 years recognize immediately as something outside the instrument. Not the Stern voice, the broadcast character, the provocateur, the man who says everything at full volume. This is the other voice, the one that surfaces rarely and specifically, and only when what needs to be said cannot be said from inside the instrument. That is not a man being baited. That is a man who is completely himself. The studio holds, not the performance hold. The hold of people who had just received something they were not expecting from the person they least expected to receive it from. The man who made the tapes, who held them, who protected them from the 2016 campaign, who said disclosure was betrayal, saying now plainly, in the voice he uses when the character is not sufficient for what the moment requires, I know what that laugh means. I have known since 1999, and what it means is that the room that night was not something that happened to Donald Trump. It was Donald Trump, completely, without remainder. Melania has not issued a statement by the time the broadcast ends. She has not issued a statement by the time the clip reaches 3 million views. She has not issued a statement by the time Trump posts, calling Stern a broken-down, very boring old man with terrible ratings, describing the 1999 tape as very old stuff that everyone has heard, saying nothing about the laugh, nothing about it's a thing of beauty, nothing about the impression or the fake accent or the studio floor that found it funny. The post addresses Stern's current relevance and his historical ratings trajectory. It does not address the register of the man in the 1999 tape. It does not address completely himself. The post is screenshot and placed beside the broadcast clip. On the left, Stern in the register he reserves for truth, flat, unperformed. The voice of a man who has been carrying something for 25 years and has decided that the character is no longer large enough to hold it. On the right, a post about ratings. Melania's statement never comes. Not because she has nothing to say, because she said the thing that covers all of it in October 2016, in 3 words that have been sitting in the record ever since, available to anyone willing to place them beside the 11 seconds of the laugh and the 1 sentence from outside the instrument, and see what the 3 documents produce when they are arranged in sequence. I was not surprised. The register of those 3 words, flat final, containing the full inventory of a woman who had been in the room since before the room knew her name, is the answer to every question the 1999 tape raises, and every question the 2026 broadcast raises, and every question the post about ratings declines to address. The register holds. It has always held. It requires no maintenance. It requires only that someone listen to it carefully enough to hear what it contains. The people who subscribe to this channel don't come for drama. They come for the moments nobody else is willing to show. Join them. Subscribe. Turn on notifications. The next truth is already on the table.